guys, and welcome to another episode of Mitchell's Logistics Corner, where we bring you real-time information of what's going on in today's logistics market. All right, guys, I've got an exciting show for you today. We're actually going to be focusing on the Port of Los Angeles. So let's jump right into it. But before we do that, let's start talking a little bit about the history about the Port of Los Angeles. So the Port of Los Angeles is really in a bay called San Pedro Bay. Now, the bay was actually founded or discovered in 1542 by an explorer by the name of Juan Rodriguez Cabello. Now, when he showed up, he actually named this port the Bay of Smoke. And the reason he did this was because when he came and showed up, he saw all on the hills, all of these Native American tribes that were hunting and had these huge fires that were dividing these villages. And it covered the whole bay in smoke. And this is where he ended up bringing goods going into that area. And things all changed also in 1881. That's right. In 1881, a gentleman by the name of Banning showed up, who actually made logistics a little bit easier for transporting people and goods from the San Pedro Bay up to Los Angeles. He actually had a rail cart system, which was great. Now, he passed away about 1885, where his kids actually started to take over. During that time, they were moving about 500,000 tons of cargo. Well, things quickly changed in 1893. That's right. In 1893, a gentleman by the name of Harrington came in. He also had his own railways and rail cars, but his railway ended at the area of Santa Monica. So he was trying to get them to build the Port of Los Angeles in Santa Monica. Well, guess what? Senator White stepped in and said, no, I want the Port of LA to be in the Bay of San Pedro Bay. So he actually was able to get government funding to assist him, and he also got the endorsement of Admiral Walker at the time. So then it gets down to the 1900s. So around the 1920s is when the port really started to grow. But the real explosion was actually in the 1930s. Now, from 1930s to 1950s, we had a war. The port actually employed about 90,000 people. But what was really interesting was the time when containers were introduced to the Port of Los Angeles, which actually came in 1959. And Matson Navigation was the carrier that introduced containers to the Port of Los Angeles. Amazing history. Now, today, we're moving a minimum of about 8 million TEUs a year through that port. That's an amazing growth. Well, that's the history of the port. Now, we've been really lucky enough to be able to get a special guest on our show. That's right, someone that's actually at the Port of Los Angeles every day, fighting and arguing and trying to find a solution to some of these issues out there. So let's bring in Mario. Mario, are you there?
I'm here. How are you? Good to see you, Mitch.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Yeah. How's it going on in good old California?
You know, a little bit rainy today, but overall, you know, we can't complain. You know, containers are moving, and that's what's most important right now.
That really is. Okay, well, I'm glad you kind of made that comment. So let's jump right into it. So lately, the Port of Los Angeles has been in the media and getting a lot of heat about congestion and all of these issues about the vessels coming to berth. You know, you're there every day. What is really going on?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of media that's been focused on the LA port has not really been giving you a very good picture of what's actually happening. We feel like, yeah, it's not a perfect scenario, and there's certainly delays. But I mean, we are pulling hundreds of containers every week out of the port. We're frustrated with wait times. We're frustrated with terminal appointment systems. But containers are flowing, and I think that's what people really need to focus on here. That it's things are happening, you know, which is good. There's no 2 or 3 months containers stuck at terminals. That's not really happening.
See, and that's the thing where I think a lot of people are confused about. Right? Because a lot of the stuff that's coming up in the media is saying that it's taking forever to get containers, or to return a container, they're not accepting them on time because they don't have capacity to accept them. Is this true?
So I feel like that the terminals are operating pretty good. And when I say pretty good, is like where we came from. It's not where we want to be, but it's I mean, we can, like, best example today. We pulled out today 39 containers on appointments we made last night. Okay, so we got them. Wait time was anywhere from 2 to 6 hours. That's not great, but we got the containers, we got them out. On the return windows, I got to say that most of the carriers have been super supportive on that. So if you don't get your return window, at least you get some extra per diem, which is great. So I can't really complain on that front. And everyone, carrier, terminal, truckers, I really have noticed they really came together in the last couple of months to really solve the problem or make it better at least.
One thing that I keep preaching to a lot of my audience is that we have a shortage of drivers, right?
Yep.
So it's interesting to hear that, just last night you made an appointment and were able to pull your, actually the set appointments for today. I mean, do you have some type of special, I don't want to say powers, but I mean, what's the secret sauce? I mean, Mario.
Come on, I'm a freight forwarder. I always have special powers.
I agree.
No, I mean, to be honest, I think what's really happening is that truckers really know what they have to deal with. As long as the merge is cleared, that's a challenge by itself, right? Peer press is claimed and the appointments are available. If those three things are given and happen, I think the trucker is very good at executing that. So there's definitely driver shortages. I mean, we have seen truck rates more than double in a local LA market, right? So there's definitely a driver shortage. I read somewhere that the average driver right now is like 57 years old. That means we're going to have even bigger problems on our hands in a few years from now. But at least capacity-wise, we can manage it as long as all these three things are taken care of.
So in other words, I mean, I've been preaching it's been really a disaster at the port, but there is actually structure. So, I mean, there's really structure. So what's this fear? Is this fear being brought on by the media, or is this fear being, I don't get where is this fear coming from?
So I feel like a lot of the fear is coming from non-industry people, right? Because I think that anybody who's a freight forwarder, a trucker, or works for an ocean carrier, yes, it's a mess, right? But logistics is kind of messy, right? And that's why we get it, So, yeah. So that being said, I believe that it's very, very important to have these things in place. And I believe that's hyped by the media, unfortunately, but containers are flowing on a regular basis.
Okay, so I believe that. I believe that it could be a little bit hyped. But what I have read, what was very, very interesting to me, which was a topic that I'd like to talk about as well, is another question for you, is the Marine Exchange of Southern California has come up with this new methodology of having the vessels come to berth, right? So for example, if they're within 40 miles, they get scheduled a time to come to berth and it's actually flowing. Anything over is still a little bit of a backup, but they're working with it around the 40-mile radius. Is this actually working, what they're doing?
I actually like it because, we tell our import clients the same thing. The earlier we know about it, the better we can manage it, right? Because many times customers come to us last minute and saying, hey, can you pull these 100 containers next week? Right. So I think that actually is a good thing. What I disagree with a little bit is why has there be so much traffic being directed towards LA, right? So one of my recommendations would be, why don't we pump the brakes a little bit on the overall volume so we can, so the port of LA can breathe a little bit, and get that backlog more under control, I personally, in my business, have not really been affected by the backlog, right? It's just simply been vessels coming in late. But once the vessel is on the actually berth at the terminal, containers are available in a very timely manner. So that's at least my observation.
Well, I mean, you would know. I mean, you're there. I mean, you see this on a day-to-day. So, but now let's start getting a little bit more into a little bit about yourself, right? I mean, to hear this kind of stuff that you could take out so many containers on just making the reservation the night before, I'm kind of interested. So I read a little bit about you. I kind of like to do my history, my research. So you've been in forwarding for well over 20 years, and you actually started in Germany, correct? With a company by the name of FMS. And you started in operations, like we all start, seeing the day-to-day. Then you went to a branch manager, which seems to be the logical way of growth. And then you went, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, into a CEO. Actually, you became the GM. And then you moved to Jarek, and that was after 7 years over at your FMS. And then you did 4.5 years at Jarek as the CEO. But I guess you being such an entrepreneur and a go-getter, you decided to go out on your own, and now you're the CEO of Xport Forwarding. What is Xport Forwarding? I mean, Who are you guys?
Yeah. So yeah, for me, I think I was always an entrepreneur by heart. I was more of an entrepreneur at FMS, and I got to give it really up to FMS because they have taught me a lot of things that I wouldn't know today. Right. So that was really, really nice. I really felt like it was the right time for me to really. I've been in the industry for 20 years. My dad has been in it. My grandfather's been in it. So I'm 3 generations in the industry, and I always wanted to make the move to go on my own. Of course, in the middle of a pandemic, which is interesting timing. But I got to say, it's been really good for us, and business has been changing a lot, but really booming for us.
So if I wasn't, let's say I'm not in the industry, I'm a manufacturer, I'm trying to look for a freight forwarder or someone to help me, right? What kind of things do you guys do? Are you guys more of a forwarder? I mean, I've read a lot about what your website, I reviewed your website.
Yeah.
I see that technology is playing quite a big role in your company. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we always say we are a traditional freight forwarder powered with really good tools, right? Because obviously me being in an industry for so long and my dad being in the industry, my dad's been in the industry for 45 years. And we have seen so many things that simply doesn't work as well as it should, right? So what we said is let's combine really good technology that is already available almost for any forwarder out there. All we really did is combine all these, and then we have our own staff that kind of help us, build these blocks and connecting these systems together, and really find the best system in each area and connect them, right? So we are now operating out of one system. We have a really cool rate tool online where you can pull up to 1.8 million different rates. And yeah, we can talk about this another time because I can speak about this for hours. So. Well,
it's funny because I like the way you brought up the technology and the auto rating and vice versa. As you have been noticing on a lot of my streams, with all the coverage that I've been doing from the Port of LA, I've been really seeing a lot of a particular CEO that sells this technology in the forwarding. Now, the big difference I see between you is that you actually have the experience of working in a forwarder. I don't want to talk bad about any other tech companies, but what is it that makes you different than what this other guy is selling, where to me there's no true substance?
Right. So I think for us, it's we always look at the customer and see what the customer's problems are, right? Or internally what our problems are. And then based on that, we focus on how can we make it more efficient and how can we make it a better experience customer service wise. I feel like that a lot of these other tech companies really put technology first and many times customers second, and or technology first and don't really understand what's really required to run a freight forwarding business or to run logistics in the first place, right? So there's a lot of fancy systems out there. Most of the time, they don't really do what they claim they can. And most of the time, it's actually people in the background, Mickey Mousing the actual data and so on and so forth, right? So this is why I really think the biggest difference with us, we live and breathe freight forwarding. I'm a proud freight forwarder, and we'll tell that to anybody. And we always put our customers first, our employees as well, that to really make them efficient and make their jobs easier, right? That's really the key.
It's funny, while listening to you speak, one thing I noticed is that you made a comment about these tech companies dilly-dallying and not really knowing what they're doing in the background. It's really amazing, especially with seeing the technology of your company. I would love to continue this segment, at a later time, and we could discuss maybe how technology is really affecting us. Is it helping us or is it not helping us? And are what these other companies stating that they can do that are not really, I don't think they're necessarily real forwarders. They're just tech companies that are destroying our industry. But maybe you could give me a lesson or two about what really is the issue, because I've been really tough on them. Everyone that watches me knows that I've been beating up the steamship lines and the ports, and when I see these CEOs coming on board, saying, hey, I have an app that can go pull a container and do this, and I know that drugs are legal there in good old California, yeah. So I might think he might be doing one too many, but it doesn't make sense to me, Mario. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, would you be willing to do this?
Oh, I would love that. I believe it's not all bad. I believe it's a mixture of good and bad. And I think actually that more people like you and I, Mitch, we need to work together to make the industry better, right? And I think that is the biggest part. I'm excited that so many tech companies go into logistics. I think logistics is a highly underserved market when it comes to technology. So I'm absolutely stoked and really excited about talking more about it.
I agree with you, but I also don't like the issue or where people are putting out there where they're not really profitable. They're just trying to sell their technology so that it's in the system, and that kind of brings them in. And that's the part where I just don't see any public information of these companies actually being profitable. But again, hey, that could be a totally other segment that we could be talking about, and we could definitely get to that at that point. So just to wrap things up, and I know you got a trip coming up to Germany, so I know you're ready to go do that long journey. But is there anything else that we would like to know a little bit more about Xport Forwarding, or maybe how to get a hold of you if someone's interested in maybe contacting you for your services?
Absolutely, yeah. Of course, exportforwarding.com. You can go on our webpage. We're very accessible. We have a great team of local guys here. They're all true freight forwarders, so to speak. But we're also really trying to help other freight forwarders, and that's maybe one thing that reach out to me on Instagram or LinkedIn under Mario Bruendel and shoot me a message. Would love to hear from you guys. I truly believe that we can make the logistics industry a better place. I'm super excited to continue to work with you on that.
All right. Well, here's the thing. So on the next one, let's just talk about how tech companies, right? What their real intentions are, because a lot of forwarders that maybe are not as advanced as you guys are with technology are feeling that they're being left behind. So I think that's going to be a great topic to discuss. So why don't we reconnect when you get back from Germany? Let's try to get something together. And I would love to learn more about these tech companies, and are they really making money, or are they really destroying the logistics industry as what we see today? What do you think, Mario?
And just to add on that, Mitch, I think there's also ways where a smaller forwarder can really compete with them without having the fancy tools. So I think we show them that as well.
I think we need to. I think we really need to help the forwarders, because I have a big fear that these steamship lines are really coming in and going to gobble these big guys up. And it's really going to have a lot of people hurting, maybe losing their jobs. We've talked about this in the past. So I'm excited. So thank you so much, Mario. I really appreciate it. Have a safe trip. And again, thank you so much for watching my channel. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you when you return back. Does that work?
Great. Thank you so much.
You got it, Mario. You be well. All right, guys. So that was Mario. Yep. Amazing guy. And I'll tell you something. If you are a small to mid-sized forwarder and you are looking to kind of enhance some of your technology to try to compete with some of the current guys that are in the market, let me know. Contact Mario. He'll be more than welcome to help. Okay, guys. So that's another episode of Mitchell's Logistics Corner, where we bring you real-time information of what's going on in today's logistics market. Take care. Have a great week and be well.